They found the girl standing in the rain outside Ironjaw's garage at 2 in the morning, soaking wet and shaking. Not from cold, but from something far worse. She held a crumpled napkin in her fist, and when Gregory Moss finally opened the door, what he saw on that paper made his blood run cold. It was Hollow's emblem, the exact design Luther Holloway had drawn the night before he died 9 years ago. A design nobody outside the club had ever seen. The girl's lips were blue, her eyes hollow with exhaustion and terror. "My brother sent me," she whispered. But Hollow had been dead for nearly a decade. What the hell was happening here? If you want to know how a ghost brought a 14-year-old girl back from the edge of hell, stay until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. You're going to need to buckle up for this one. The rain didn't just fall on Black Hollow, Tennessee, it attacked. Cold, vicious drops hammered the cracked asphalt of Route 9 like bullets trying to punch through to something buried underneath. The kind of rain that made sensible people lock their doors and pretend the world outside didn't exist. But sensible people didn't end up at Ironjaw's garage past midnight on a Thursday in late November. Sky Holloway wasn't sensible. She was desperate. She stood beneath the flickering neon sign, water streaming down her face and neck, soaking through the oversized jacket she'd stolen from a Goodwill donation bin 3 towns back. The jacket smelled like cigarettes and someone else's life. She didn't care. It was warm enough to keep her alive, and right now, alive was all that mattered. The garage squatted at the edge of town like a scarred animal that had given up trying to look domesticated. Rust bled through the aluminum siding. The windows were taped over with newspaper yellowed by decades of nicotine and neglect. A single security light buzzed overhead, casting shadows that moved like living things across the gravel lot. 3 Harley-Davidsons sat parked near the entrance, chrome glinting beneath the rain, engines still ticking as they cooled. Someone was inside. Sky's hand shook as she pulled the napkin from her pocket. The paper was falling apart, the ink smudged from being folded and unfolded 1,000 times. But the design was still visible. A screaming eagle wrapped around a hollow crown, wings spread wide, talons bared. Hollow's mark. Her brother's signature. The only proof she had left that Luther Holloway had existed at all. She'd been holding onto this napkin for 6 years. Thunder rolled across the valley, low and angry, and Sky forced herself to move. Each step toward the garage door felt like walking toward the edge of a cliff she couldn't see. Her boots squelched in the mud. Her breath came in shallow bursts. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to disappear back into the rain and find somewhere else to hide. But there was nowhere else. Not anymore. She raised her fist and knocked. The sound was pathetic, barely audible over the storm. She knocked again, harder this time, and the metal door shuddered under her knuckles. From inside came the low rumble of voices, the clank of tools, the hiss of compressed air. Then silence. Boots on concrete, heavy, deliberate footsteps moving closer. The door cracked open. Gregory Moss looked like a man who'd been carved from the same rough stone as the mountains surrounding Black Hollow. 63 years old, 6'2", with a gray beard that hung past his collarbone and eyes the color of storm clouds. He wore a sleeveless leather vest over a flannel shirt stained with motor oil, and his forearms were covered in faded tattoos that told stories he'd never speak aloud. President of the Ironjaw's Motorcycle Club, a man who'd buried more brothers than most people ever knew. He stared down at Sky like she was a problem he didn't want to solve. "We're closed," Gregory said. His voice was gravel scraped across iron. Sky opened her mouth, but the words stuck in her throat. She'd rehearsed this moment 100 times on the long bus ride from Nashville, but now, standing in front of this terrifying stranger, everything she'd planned to say evaporated like steam. She thrust the napkin toward him instead, hand trembling so badly the paper fluttered. Gregory didn't take it. His eyes dropped to the design, and something shifted in his expression, something dark and dangerous that made Sky's stomach clench. "Where'd you get that?" His tone was flat, too flat. "My brother," Sky managed, "Luther Holloway." The name landed like a grenade. Gregory's jaw tightened. Behind him, the voices inside the garage went silent. Footsteps approached. More bikers emerging from the shadows, drawn by the sudden tension crackling through the air. Sky could see them now, silhouettes backlit by the harsh fluorescent lights. Men built like weapons, scarred and rough-edged, studying her with this cold calculation of predators, deciding whether she was prey or threat. "Hollow's been dead 9 years," Gregory said slowly. He didn't have a sister. Yes, he did. Sky's voice cracked. He did. I was 8 when they took me away. He tried to get me back, but the state wouldn't let him because of... She gestured vaguely at the garage, at Gregory, at everything the Iron Jaws represented. Because of you. Because of the club. They said he wasn't fit. Gregory's expression didn't change, but his eyes narrowed. He was reading her now, taking in the soaked clothes, the exhaustion carved into her young face, the way she held herself like someone who'd learned to expect violence from every direction. And now you show up here in the middle of the night with Hollow's design, Gregory said. A design nobody outside this club ever saw. You want to explain that? Sky's throat burned. He drew it for me. The night before he died. He said if anything ever happened to him, if I ever needed help, I should find the Iron Jaws. He said you'd... Her voice broke. He said you'd understand. One of the bikers behind Gregory muttered something low and hostile. Another one cursed. The tension was building like pressure behind a dam, and Sky knew she was seconds away from having that door slammed in her face. She was losing them. Please! The word came out raw and desperate. I walked 3 miles in the rain because I didn't have bus fare. I haven't eaten since yesterday morning. I'm not asking for money or anything permanent. I just need somewhere to sleep tonight, somewhere they won't find me. Who's they? Gregory's tone sharpened. Sky hesitated. The truth was complicated, dangerous, and she wasn't sure how much she could say without sounding insane. But the look in Gregory's eyes told her that lies would get her nowhere. Child services, she said quietly. And someone else. Someone who's been following me. Why? I don't know. That part at least was honest. But Hollow thought I'd be safe here. He thought you'd... She swallowed hard. He thought you'd protect me. The word hung in the air like smoke. Gregory stared at her for a long, unbearable moment. Rain hammered the roof. Wind howled through the gaps in the siding. Somewhere in the distance, a semi-truck roared past on the highway, its engine fading into the night. Then Gregory stepped back and opened the door wider. Get inside, huh? He said. Before you freeze to death. Sky didn't need to be told twice. The interior of Iron Jaw's garage was a cathedral of chrome and concrete. Motorcycles in various stages of disassembly lined the walls, suspended on lifts like mechanical corpses waiting for resurrection. The air was thick with the smell of gasoline, cigarette smoke, and decades of accumulated grease. A portable heater rattled in the corner, barely making a dent in the cold. The overhead lights buzzed and flickered, casting harsh shadows that made everything look sharper, more dangerous. 4 bikers were scattered around the space, all of them watching Sky with expressions ranging from suspicion to outright hostility. They were older men, most of them pushing 50 or 60, with the kind of worn-down toughness that came from surviving things that should have killed them. War, prison, addiction, loss. The Iron Jaws didn't recruit boys looking for adventure. They attracted men who had nowhere else to go. Gregory closed the door behind Sky and locked it. The sound of the deadbolt sliding into place made her flinch. Terry, Gregory called, grab a towel. One of the bikers, a wiry man with a shaved head and a scar running from his left eyebrow to his jaw, disappeared into a back room and returned with a threadbare towel that might have been white once. He tossed it to Sky without a word. She caught it clumsily, her fingers too numb to grip properly, and dried her face and hair while the men continued to stare. Sit, Gregory said, nodding toward a metal folding chair near the heater. Sky sat. The chair was cold and unstable, but the heater's weak warmth felt like a gift from heaven. She held her hands toward it, trying to stop the shaking. Gregory pulled up a stool and sat across from her, arms crossed over his chest. The other bikers drifted closer, forming a loose semicircle. Sky felt like a specimen under a microscope. Start from the beginning, Gregory said. Real beginning. Don't leave anything out. Sky's mind raced. The beginning. Where was that? The night Hollow died? The day child services took her away? The group home where silence was survival and memories were punished? She couldn't tell them everything. Not yet. Not when she barely knew if they'd let her stay past sunrise. I was 8 when they took me, Sky said slowly. Our mom was gone. OD'd when I was 6. Hollow tried to take care of me after that, but he was only 22, and the state said he couldn't. Not with his record. Not with the club. She glanced at Gregory. They said he was dangerous. He was, Gregory said flatly. Sky's chest tightened. He wasn't dangerous to me. Didn't say he was. Gregory's tone didn't soften. But the system doesn't care about nuance. They see the vest, they see the record, and they make their decision. Hollow knew that. Didn't stop him from trying. He filed for custody 3 times, Sky said. Her voice was barely above a whisper now. 3 times they said no. The last time, he showed up at the group home anyway. He tried to take me. They called the cops. He got arrested. I remember, Gregory said quietly. He was furious for weeks after that. Wouldn't talk to anyone. Just worked on his bike and drank himself stupid every night. Sky looked down at her hands. He wrote me letters. Told me he was going to get clean, get a real job, prove he could take care of me. He said once he did that, they'd have to let me go. Her throat closed up. Then he died. The silence that followed was suffocating. Bike accident, Gregory said. It wasn't a question. Sky nodded. Hit a guardrail on Route 9. They said he was going too fast, that he lost control. Gregory's expression darkened. Hollow didn't lose control. Not on a bike. That man could ride through hell blindfolded and come out the other side without a scratch. Then what happened? Don't know. Gregory's jaw clenched. Never got a straight answer. Cops ruled it an accident. Case closed. We buried him and moved on, because that's what you do. He leaned forward slightly. Now you're standing here 9 years later with his design and a story about someone following you. So I'm going to ask again, who's after you and why? Sky's pulse hammered in her ears. This was the part she'd been dreading, the part that sounded insane even to her. I don't know his name, she admitted, but he's been watching me for weeks, maybe longer. I kept seeing the same car outside the group home, black sedan, tinted windows. At first I thought I was paranoid, but then one of the staff members told me someone had been asking questions about me, about Hollow, about the club. What kind of questions? Terry cut in, his voice rough. Whether I knew anything about the night Hollow died. Whether he'd told me anything before the accident, whether I had any of his belongings. Sky swallowed hard. The woman who told me said the guy was a private investigator. She said he seemed intense, like he was looking for something specific. Gregory and Terry exchanged a glance. It was brief, but Sky caught it. You think Hollow's death wasn't an accident, she said. Didn't say that, Gregory replied evenly, but you thought it. Gregory didn't answer. He stood, pacing toward the far end of the garage, hands shoved deep into his pockets. The other bikers remained silent, watching him like soldiers waiting for orders. Finally, Gregory turned back. You ran. It wasn't a question, but Sky nodded anyway. 2 nights ago. I waited until everyone was asleep, then climbed out a window. I've been moving since then. Buses, hitchhiking, walking. I didn't know where else to go. And you came here because of a napkin. I came here because Hollow believed in you, Sky shot back, anger flaring through the exhaustion. He said the Iron Jaws were his family. He said you didn't abandon people. Was he wrong? Gregory's eyes flashed, but he didn't rise to the bait. Instead, he turned to the others. Lucy, check the perimeter. Make sure nobody followed her. Terry, call Martha. See if she's still practicing law. Rest of you, get back to work. Nothing to see here. The bikers dispersed without argument. Lucy, a broad-shouldered man with a graying ponytail, grabbed a jacket and headed for the door. Terry pulled out a battered cell phone and stepped into the back room. The remaining 2 returned to their motorcycles, though Sky noticed they kept glancing her way. Gregory crouched in front of Sky, meeting her eyes. You're going to stay here tonight. Back office has a couch. It's not much, but it's warm and it's dry. Tomorrow, we'll figure out what to do with you. But understand something. You lied to me. You stole from me. You bring trouble to this club, and you're gone. We clear? Sky nodded. Good. Gregory stood. There's vending machines in the hallway. You hungry? Sky's stomach answered for her, growling loud enough to make Gregory's mouth twitch. Come on, he said. The back office of Iron Jaw's garage was barely bigger than a closet. A sagging couch sat against one wall, its upholstery stained and torn. A metal desk occupied the opposite corner, buried under stacks of invoices, motorcycle magazines, and empty coffee cups. A single window looked out onto the parking lot, its glass fogged with condensation. The overhead light flickered every few seconds, buzzing like a trapped insect. Skye stood in the doorway, clutching a bag of chips and a lukewarm can of Coke that Gregory had bought from the vending machine. It wasn't much, but it was more than she'd had in days. "Bathroom's down the hall," Gregory said. "Door sticks, so you gotta jiggle the handle. Don't touch the water heater. It's temperamental and liable to explode if you look at it wrong." Skye almost smiled. Almost. "Thank you," she said quietly. Gregory grunted. "Don't thank me yet. You're on probation, kid. One mistake and you're out." "I understand." He turned to leave, then paused. "Why'd Hollow draw that design for you? What's it mean?" Skye looked down at the crumpled napkin still clutched in her other hand. "He said it was a promise, that no matter what happened, he'd always be watching over me, even if he wasn't there." Her voice cracked. Guess he lied about that too. Gregory's expression softened, just barely. Hollow didn't lie. He just ran out of time. Then he left, pulling the door shut behind him. Skye stood alone in the tiny office, listening to the muted sounds of the garage beyond. Engines revving, tools clanking, low voices exchanging words she couldn't hear. The rain continued to hammer the roof, relentless and cold. She set the chips and Coke on the desk, then sank onto the couch, exhaustion crashing over her like a wave. She should have felt relief. She was inside, she was warm, she had food, but all she felt was the crushing weight of everything she'd run from and everything still waiting in the dark. Somewhere out there, someone was looking for her. Someone who wanted answers about Hollow's death. Someone who wouldn't stop until they found what they were searching for. And Skye had no idea what that was. She pulled the jacket tighter around herself and closed her eyes, but sleep didn't come. Instead, memories surfaced, fragments of a life she'd tried to forget. Hollow's laugh, the way he'd ruffle her hair and call her Skybird. The night he'd drawn the emblem on a napkin at a diner, his hands steady despite the exhaustion in his eyes. The last time she'd seen him, standing outside the group home fence, promising he'd come back for her. He never did. Skye's chest ached. He wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. She'd cried too much already. Cried until there was nothing left but this hollow, empty feeling that followed her everywhere. The door creaked open. Skye's eyes snapped open, adrenaline spiking, but it was just Terry holding a battered laptop and a steaming cup of coffee. "Gregory said you might need this," Terry said, setting the laptop on the desk. "Password's Ironjaws. All lowercase, no spaces. Internet's slow, but it works." He placed the coffee beside it. "Black. Hope that's okay." Skye nodded, too stunned to speak. Terry lingered in the doorway, studying her. "You really Hollow's sister?" "Yeah. You look like him. Got his eyes." Terry's expression was unreadable. "He talked about you sometimes. Late at night, when he was drunk and feeling sorry for himself. Said you were the only good thing he ever did." Skye's throat burned. "He said that?" "Yeah." Terry's voice softened. "He loved you, kid. Don't ever doubt that." Then he was gone, leaving Skye alone with a laptop, lukewarm coffee, and a grief so sharp it felt like drowning. Skye didn't sleep that night. She tried. God, she tried. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw headlights in the rain, felt hands grabbing her in the dark, heard the creak of footsteps outside the group home window. So instead, she sat on the couch with the laptop balanced on her knees, scrolling through search results that only raised more questions. Luther Hollow, Holloway. The name pulled up a handful of results, mostly old news articles about motorcycle accidents and court records related to custody battles. There was a photo from 9 years ago, taken outside a courthouse. Hollow stood on the steps, jaw clenched, eyes blazing with defiance. He wore a leather vest identical to the ones the Ironjaws wore now, the club patch emblazoned across his back. He looked dangerous, furious, desperate. Skye stared at the photo until her vision blurred. Then she searched for the accident. Motorcyclist killed in single vehicle crash on Route 9. The article was brief, clinical. Luther Holloway, 31, lost control of his motorcycle on a sharp curve near Black Hollow, Tennessee. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities ruled it an accident caused by excessive speed and poor road conditions. No other vehicles were involved. Case closed. But Gregory's words echoed in Skye's mind. Hollow didn't lose control. Not on a bike. So what really happened? Skye clicked through more results, searching for anything that might explain why a private investigator was asking questions 9 years later. But there was nothing, just a dead end and a cold trail. She was about to close the laptop when a new notification popped up, an email in the club's shared inbox. Subject: Urgent. Sky Holloway. Sky's blood turned to ice. She clicked the email, hands trembling. To whom it may concern, I represent Michael Ventry, who has been conducting an investigation into the death of Luther Holloway. We have reason to believe Sky Holloway, Luther's sister, may possess information relevant to this case. Mr. Ventry wishes to speak with her at her earliest convenience. Please contact us immediately if you have any knowledge of her whereabouts. Failure to cooperate may result in legal action. Sincerely, Jonathan Cross, Esquire. Sky's stomach dropped. Michael Ventry. The name meant nothing to her, but the tone of the email was unmistakable. This wasn't a friendly inquiry. This was a threat. Sky grabbed the laptop and stumbled into the hallway, her legs unsteady. The garage was quieter now, only 1 or 2 bikers still working under the harsh lights. She found Gregory in the far corner, bent over an engine, his hands black with grease. "Gregory," Sky said breathlessly. He looked up, saw her expression, and immediately straightened. "What's wrong?" Sky held out the laptop. "You need to see this." Gregory read the email once, then twice. His jaw tightened. Without a word, he pulled out his phone and dialed. "Terry," Gregory barked. "Get Lucy and meet me in the office. Now, otsis. Bambrian." 10 minutes later, the back office was crowded with bodies. Gregory sat at the desk, the laptop open in front of him. Terry stood by the door, arms crossed. Lucy leaned against the wall, his expression grim. Sky sat on the couch, feeling like the walls were closing in. "Who the hell is Michael Ventry?" Lucy asked. "Don't know," Gregory said. "But if he's got a lawyer sending emails like this, he's got money and connections." "What does he want with the kid?" Terry asked. "That's what we're going to find out." Gregory turned to Sky. "You ever heard that name before?" Sky shook her head. "Never." "Think hard. Could Hollow have mentioned him, even in passing?" Sky squeezed her eyes shut, trying to dredge up memories from years ago. But there was nothing. Just blank space where answers should be. "I don't know," Sky whispered. "I was 8. I didn't understand half of what Hollow talked about. Gregory cursed under his breath. "This doesn't make sense. If Ventry's been investigating Hollow's death for 9 years, why come after the kid now? What changed?" "Maybe she knows something she doesn't realize she knows," Terry suggested. "Or maybe Ventry thinks she does," Lucy added darkly. "Either way, he's looking for her. And if he's got the resources to track her to a group home in Nashville, it's only a matter of time before he finds her here." Sky's chest tightened. "I'll leave. I don't want to bring trouble to—" "You're not going anywhere," Gregory cut in sharply. "Not until we figure out what the hell is going on." "But no." "But—" Gregory's tone left no room for argument. "You came here because Hollow believed we'd protect you, so that's what we're going to do. But you need to be straight with us. If there's anything you remember about Hollow's last days, you tell us now." Sky's mind raced. The last days, the last time she'd seen him. What had he said? What had he done? Then it hit her. "He gave me something," Sky said slowly. "The night he drew the emblem. He said if anything happened to him, I should keep it safe. He said it was important." Gregory leaned forward. "What was it?" Sky's voice was barely audible. "A USB drive, hidden inside a stuffed bear he won for me at a carnival." The room went dead silent. "Where's the bear now?" Gregory asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Sky's stomach sank. "The group home. They wouldn't let me take it when I ran. Said it wasn't mine to take." Gregory exchanged a look with Terry and Lucy. The weight of what Sky had just revealed hung in the air like a loaded gun. "If Ventry knows about that drive," Lucy said grimly, "he's already got it. Or he's coming for it," Terry added. Gregory stood, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "We need to move. Now. Lucy, call Martha. Tell her we need legal protection for the kid. Terry, lock down the garage. Nobody in or out without clearance. I'm making some calls." Sky's hands trembled. "What's on the drive?" Brett saw a cheese term. Gregory looked at her, and for the first time, she saw something in his eyes that terrified her. Fear. I don't know, kid, Gregory said quietly. But if Hollow thought it was worth hiding, then it's worth killing for. And someone was already hunting. The morning came gray and cold, the kind of dawn that never fully arrived. Skye woke to the sound of boots on concrete and the low rumble of voices filtering through the thin walls of the back office. Her neck ached from sleeping at an awkward angle on the couch, and her mouth tasted like stale coffee and fear. She sat up slowly, disoriented, until the events of the previous night came rushing back. Michael Ventry, the email, the USB drive hidden in a stuffed bear she'd left behind. The realization hit her like a fist to the chest. She'd led them nowhere. She'd run all this way with nothing but a crumpled napkin and a ghost story. And now she'd put the iron jaws directly in the crosshairs of someone with money, lawyers, and a 9-year grudge. Skye pushed herself off the couch and stumbled into the hallway. The garage was already awake. Barely. 3 bikers sat around a makeshift table constructed from oil drums and plywood, drinking coffee from chipped mugs and smoking cigarettes that filled the air with thin blue haze. They looked up when Skye appeared, their expressions unreadable. "Morning," one of them grunted. His name was Vic. She remembered that much from last night's tense introductions. He was in his 50s, built like a bear, with knuckles scarred from decades of bar fights and bad decisions. Skye nodded but didn't speak. Her throat felt tight. "Gregory's in the office," Vic said, jerking his head toward a door at the far end of the garage. "Wants to see you." Skye's stomach dropped. She forced her legs to move, crossing the oil-stained concrete floor while the biker's eyes tracked her like predators watching prey. The office door was half open. She knocked anyway. "Come in," Gregory's voice called. Skye stepped inside. The office was small and cluttered, walls covered in faded photographs of the club from decades past, a metal desk buried under paperwork, a filing cabinet with a broken drawer hanging open. Gregory sat behind the desk, phone pressed to his ear, jaw tight. Terry stood near the window, arms crossed, staring out at the parking lot with the intensity of a man expecting an ambush. Lucy was gone, probably out running perimeter checks. Gregory held up one finger, signaling Skye to wait. She stood awkwardly near the door, hands shoved into the pockets of her stolen jacket. "Yeah," Gregory said into the phone. "I understand. Just get here as soon as you can." He hung up without saying goodbye and tossed the phone onto the desk with more force than necessary. Then he looked at Skye, and the exhaustion in his eyes was almost overwhelming. "Sit," Gregory said. Skye sat in the folding chair across from him. The metal was cold even through her jeans. Gregory leaned back, rubbing his face with both hands. "Martha's on her way. She's the best family lawyer in 3 counties, and she owes me a favor. She'll handle the legal side, child services, custody, all that bureaucratic bullshit. But that's not the problem." "What is?" Skye asked quietly. "Michael Ventry." Gregory dropped his hands and fixed Skye with a hard stare. "Spent half the night making calls. Nobody in the club knows that name, nobody in town either. So I dug deeper. Found out Ventry's got connections to the Red Vipers." Skye blinked. "Who?" "Motorcycle club out of Knoxville, Tess," Terry said from the window, his voice flat. "Rivals. We've had run-ins with them over the years. Nothing major, just territorial disputes, pissing contests, the usual bullshit. But there was one incident that went sideways." Skye's chest tightened. "What kind of incident?" Gregory and Terry exchanged a glance. It was brief, but Skye caught the weight of it, the kind of look that said, "We're about to tell you something that changes everything." 7 years ago, Gregory began slowly, the Red Vipers had a member named Danny Ventry. Young kid, early 20s, hot-headed as hell. He picked a fight with Hollow at a bar outside Knoxville. Nobody knows what started it. Some say Danny was running his mouth. Some say Hollow threw the first punch. Doesn't matter. What matters is Danny ended up in the hospital with a fractured skull. Skye's breath caught. "Did Hollow—" "No," Gregory cut in sharply. "Hollow didn't put him there. He threw a punch, sure, but Danny was still standing when Hollow walked out. It was someone else who followed Danny into the parking lot and finished what Hollow started. Someone we never identified." "Danny Ventry died 2 days later," Terry added quietly. "Brain bleed. Ventry died. The Red Vipers blamed Hollow, said he set it up. Said the Iron Jaws were responsible. Sky's hands trembled. But you said Hollow didn't... Hollow didn't kill him, Gregory said. But that didn't stop the Vipers from wanting blood. They came after us. Hard. Burned one of our safe houses. Trashed a member's bike. Beat the hell out of one of our prospects and left him on the side of the highway. Gregory's voice hardened. We hit back. It escalated. Got ugly. Then one night, Hollow showed up at the Vipers' clubhouse alone. Nobody knows what he said to them, but whatever it was, it ended the war. The Vipers backed off. We backed off. Truce held for 2 years. Until Hollow died, Sky whispered. Until Hollow died, Gregory confirmed. And now, 9 years later, Michael Ventry, Danny's older brother, is asking questions about the night Hollow went off that guardrail. Sky felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. You think Michael killed Hollow? I think Michael wanted Hollow dead, Gregory said carefully. Whether he did it himself or hired someone, I don't know. But if Hollow left behind evidence, something on that USB drive, then Michael's got a damn good reason to come after you. Jesus, Sky breathed. Terry turned from the window. Question is, what's on the drive? Hollow didn't strike me as the type to keep records. He wasn't sentimental. So if he hid something, it was important enough to die for. Ipatri sumtishpishwasa. Sky's mind raced. He said it was insurance. That's the word he used. He said if anything happened to him, the drive would protect me. Protect you from what? Gregory leaned forward, elbows on the desk. From Michael? From the Vipers? From us? The last word hung in the air like a knife. Sky stared at Gregory, her pulse hammering. What do you mean? From you? Gregory's expression didn't change. I mean, Hollow didn't trust Easy, and he sure as hell didn't trust the system. So if he left you insurance, maybe it wasn't just about Michael Ventry. Maybe it was about making sure nobody could hurt you again, including the people he called family. Sky's stomach twisted. He trusted you. Did he? Gregory's tone was cold. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like he kept secrets. Big ones. And now you're here, and we're all in the crosshairs because of something Hollow did 9 years ago. That's not fair, Sky shot back, anger flaring through the fear. I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask Hollow to die. I didn't ask Michael Ventry to come after me. I just wanted... Her voice cracked. I just wanted to survive. Gregory's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. The silence stretched, suffocating. Finally, Terry spoke. Kid's not the enemy here, Gregory. Never said she was, Gregory replied without looking away from Sky. But if we're going to protect her, we need to know what we're up against. And right now, we don't know a damn thing. So what do we do? Sky asked. Her voice small. Gregory stood, pacing toward the filing cabinet. He pulled out a bottle of whiskey from the broken drawer, poured 2 fingers into a dirty glass, and downed it in one swallow. Then he turned back to Sky. We get that USB drive, Gregory said. Whatever's on it, we need it. And we need it before Michael Ventry gets his hands on it. Sky's chest tightened. It's at the group home, in Nashville. That's 3 hours away. I know where Nashville is, Gregory said dryly. They're not just going to let me walk back in and take it, Sky continued. The second I show my face, they'll call the cops. Or worse, they'll call child services, and I'll end up in a worse place than I started. Then we don't send you, Terry said. We send someone else. Who? Sky asked. Terry looked at Gregory. Lucy. Gregory shook his head. Lucy's about as subtle as a chainsaw. We need someone who can blend in, someone who won't set off alarms. Then who? Terry pressed. Gregory's eyes shifted to Sky. You said the bear's in your old room? Sky nodded. Unless they threw it out. They won't have, Gregory said. Group homes don't toss personal belongings without going through channels. It's probably still in storage, which means we need someone on the inside, someone who can access that storage without raising suspicions. Sky's breath caught. You're talking about breaking in. I'm talking about getting what's ours, Gregory corrected. Hollow left that drive for you. It's yours. We're just retrieving it. That's illegal, Sky said weakly. Gregory's smile was sharp and humorless. Kid, you're sitting in a biker clubhouse after running away from state custody. We're way past legal. Martha Clark arrived 2 hours later, pulling up in a battered Ford pickup that looked older than Sky. She climbed out slowly. A weathered woman in her 60s with steel-gray hair pulled into a tight bun and eyes sharp enough to cut glass. She wore a faded blazer over jeans and boots, and she carried a leather briefcase that had seen better decades. Gregory met her at the door. "Martha." "Gregory." Martha's voice was rough from years of smoking and courtroom battles. "You said it was urgent." "It is. Come inside." Martha followed Gregory into the office, her gaze sweeping over Sky with the clinical precision of someone who'd seen 1,000 broken kids and learned not to flinch. Sky stood as Martha entered, unsure whether to shake hands or stay silent. "Sit," Martha said, waving a hand. "You look like you're about to bolt." Sky sat. Martha set her briefcase on the desk and pulled out a yellow legal pad and a pen. "Start from the beginning. Don't leave anything out. I can't help you if I don't know what I'm dealing with." So Sky told her. Everything. The group home, the escape, the man in the black sedan, the email from Michael Ventry's lawyer, the USB drive hidden in a stuffed bear. By the time she finished, Martha's expression had darkened considerably. "Jesus," Martha muttered. She turned to Gregory. "You always bring me the easy cases." "If it was easy, I wouldn't need you," Gregory replied. Martha tapped her pen against the legal pad. "All right, here's the situation. Sky's a minor who fled state custody. That's a problem. But the state failed to protect her from abuse and potential danger, which gives us leverage. I can file for emergency custody on your behalf, Gregory, but it's going to take time. Days, maybe weeks. In the meantime, Sky's technically a fugitive." "What about Michael Ventry?" Terry asked from his spot near the window. "That's trickier," Martha admitted. "If he's got a lawyer sending threatening emails, he's playing the long game. He wants something, probably that USB drive. But without knowing what's on it, we can't anticipate his next move." "So we get the drive," Gregory said. Martha raised an eyebrow. "And how do you plan to do that?" "We're working on it," Gregory said evasively. Martha's gaze sharpened. "Gregory, whatever you're planning, don't be stupid. If you get caught breaking into a state facility, I can't help you. And Sky will end up in a worse situation than she started." "We won't get caught," Gregory said. "Famous last words," Martha muttered. She turned to Sky. "You understand what's at stake here? If this goes sideways, you could lose any chance of staying with the club. They'll put you in a facility so far away, you'll never see daylight again." Sky's throat tightened. "I understand." Martha studied her for a long moment, then sighed. "All right, I'll start the paperwork. But you need to stay here. No leaving the garage, no going into town, no phone calls to anyone. You're a ghost until I say otherwise. Understand?" Sky nodded. Martha stood, snapping her briefcase shut. "Gregory, walk me out." Gregory followed Martha into the parking lot, leaving Sky alone with Terry. The silence was heavy, oppressive. Terry lit a cigarette, exhaling smoke toward the ceiling. "She's tough," Terry said finally. "Martha, she'll fight for you." "Will she win?" Sky asked. Terry's smile was grim. "She usually does, but this ain't a usual case." "What do you think is on the drive?" Sky asked quietly. Terry took a long drag, considering. "Honestly, I think Hollow recorded something. Something he saw or heard that Michael Ventry didn't want getting out. Could be proof Michael killed Danny. Could be proof someone in the Vipers did it. Could be something else entirely." He flicked ash into an empty beer can. "But whatever it is, it's dangerous enough that Michael's willing to risk everything to get it, which means we need it first." "How are we supposed to get it?" Sky asked. "You heard Martha. Breaking into the group home is impossible," Terry finished. "Yeah, I heard. Doesn't mean we're not going to try." So Sky's stomach churned. "This is insane." Terry's gaze was steady. "Welcome to the Iron Jaws, kid. Insane is what we do." Lucy returned just after noon, mud splattered across his jeans and exhaustion etched into every line of his face. He pulled Gregory aside, speaking in low, urgent tones that Sky couldn't hear from across the garage. But she saw the way Gregory's expression darkened, the way his hands clenched into fists. When Lucy finished, Gregory turned to the rest of the club. "Meeting," Gregory barked. Now. The bikers assembled in the back room, a cramped space with concrete walls, a single overhead bulb, and a folding table surrounded by mismatched chairs. Skye was told to wait in the office, but she pressed her ear against the door, straining to hear. "They're already here," Lucy said, his voice muffled but audible. Black sedan parked 2 blocks down, tinted windows. Same description the kid gave, been sitting there for an hour. "They followed her," Vic growled. "Son of a bitch." "Or they tracked the email response," Terry suggested. "Either way, they know she's here." "What do they want?" another biker asked. Sam, Skye thought his name was. "Just the drive? Or the kid too?" "Both, probably," Gregory said grimly. "Michael's not stupid. He knows the drive's worthless without Skye to authenticate it. Whatever Hollow recorded, it needs context. And Skye's the only one who can provide that. So we hand her over," Vic said flatly. Skye's blood turned to ice. "The hell we do," Terry snapped. "I'm not saying we do it for free," Vic continued. "But if Michael wants the kid, maybe we negotiate. Trade her for information. Or money, something." "She's not a bargaining chip," Lucy said, his voice hard. "She's a liability," Vic shot back. "Hollow's dead. Whatever grudge Michael's holding, it's got nothing to do with us. We protect our own. The kid ain't ours. She's Hollow's sister," Gregory said quietly. "That makes her ours." "Does it?" Vic leaned forward, his tone sharp. "Because from where I'm sitting, she's the reason we got a private investigator and a lawyer breathing down our necks. She's the reason we're about to go to war with the Red Vipers again. And for what? A 14-year-old girl we don't know and a USB drive we've never seen?" "Vic," Terry started. "No," Vic cut him off. "I'm saying what everyone's thinking. We bled for Hollow. We buried him. We mourned him. But he's been dead 9 years. At some point, we gotta let go." The silence that followed was suffocating. Then Gregory spoke, his voice low and dangerous. "You think Hollow would have let go if it was one of us? If it was your kid standing outside that door, soaking wet and terrified, asking for help?" Vic's jaw tightened, but he didn't answer. "We're not handing her over," Gregory continued. "We're not negotiating. We're not backing down. Michael Ventry wants a fight, he'll get one. But it won't be over this girl." "You're making a mistake," Vic muttered. "Then it's mine to make," Gregory said coldly. "Now get out, all of you. I need to think." Boots scraped against concrete. Chairs screeched. The bikers filed out of the back room one by one, their expressions ranging from resigned to furious. Vic was the last to leave, and he shot Gregory a look that could have melted steel. Skye pulled away from the door just as Lucy emerged. He saw her standing there, guilt written all over her face, and his expression softened. "You heard," Lucy said. It wasn't a question. Skye nodded, her throat too tight to speak. Lucy sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. "Don't take it personal, kid. Vic's a grumpy bastard on his best days. He doesn't mean half the shit he says." "He's right, though," Skye whispered. "I'm putting all of you in danger." "Yeah, Lucy said bluntly. "You are. But that's not your fault. Hollow put you in this position. Michael Ventry put you in this position. You're just trying to survive." He clapped a heavy hand on her shoulder. "And survival's something we understand." Skye's eyes burned, but she blinked the tears back. "What happens now?" Lucy glanced toward the office where Gregory stood alone, staring at the wall. "Now we figure out how to get that drive before Michael does. And we pray we're fast enough." The plan came together over the next 6 hours, cobbled together from desperation and borrowed favors. Martha made calls to contacts in Nashville, social workers she'd worked with, court clerks who owed her, a janitor at the group home who smoked the same brand of cigarettes as Terry. Piece by piece, they built a blueprint. The group home was called Riverside Youth Center, a 3-story brick building on the east side of Nashville, surrounded by chain-link fencing and security cameras. Skye's old room was on the 2nd floor, and her belongings, including the stuffed bear, were stored in a locked closet in the basement. Access required a key card, a code, and a staff member's signature. "Impossible," Vic said when Gregory laid out the details. "We'd need someone on the inside, and even then, the cameras would catch us." "Not if we time it right," Terry said. "Shift change is at 11 p.m. Security's lax during the handoff. We'd have a 10-minute window. 10 minutes to break in, find the storage closet, crack the lock, grab the bear, and get out without being seen? Vic's laugh was bitter. Yeah, that'll work. It will if we move fast, Gregory said. And who's going? Sam asked. You, Terry, Lucy? We're not exactly subtle. Gregory's gaze shifted to Sky. Her. Sky's stomach dropped. What? You know the layout, Gregory said. You know where the storage closet is, which cameras to avoid, which staff members are asleep at the wheel. You're the best option. I'm 14, Sky said, panic creeping into her voice. I can't. You can, Gregory interrupted. And you will, because if we send anyone else, they'll get caught. But you? You're a kid. You're small. You're fast. And if something goes wrong, you can talk your way out of it. Say you came back for your stuff. Say you got homesick. Whatever. They won't press charges against a runaway who turned herself in. That's insane, Sky breathed. It's survival, Gregory corrected. And right now, that's all we've got. Sky looked around the room, searching for someone, anyone who would argue. But the bikers avoided her eyes. Even Terry looked away. You're serious, Sky said finally. Dead serious, Gregory replied. We leave tonight, midnight. Lucy drives, Terry rides shotgun. You go in alone. 10 minutes, Sky. That's all you get. You find the bear, you grab it, and you run like hell. We'll be waiting outside. Sky's hands trembled. What if I get caught? Then you don't mention the club, Gregory said flatly. You don't mention me or Terry or anyone else. You take the fall alone. Understand? Sky's chest ached. You'd let me do that? Mom, I'd let you protect this family, Gregory said. Same way Hollow would have. Same way we're protecting you now. The logic was brutal, but Sky couldn't argue. She'd asked for help. She'd dragged the Iron Jaws into this mess. Now it was her turn to pay the price. Okay, Sky whispered. I'll do it. Gregory nodded, his expression unreadable. Good. Get some rest. We move in 8 hours. What? Sky didn't rest. She sat in the back office, staring at the wall, her mind spinning through 1,000 worst-case scenarios. Getting caught. Getting arrested. Getting thrown into a facility worse than Riverside. Or worse, getting Michael Venturi exactly what he wanted. Around 10 p.m., Terry knocked on the door and entered without waiting for a response. He carried a black hoodie, a pair of gloves, and a small flashlight. Gear, Terry said, setting the items on the desk. Hoodie's dark. Won't show up on cameras. Gloves keep your fingerprints off everything. Flashlights for the storage closet. Batteries are fresh. Sky picked up the hoodie, feeling the weight of it. Thanks. Terry sat on the edge of the desk, studying her. You scared? Terrified, Sky admitted. Sky. Good, Terry said. Fear keeps you sharp. Just don't let it paralyze you. You get in, you get out. No heroics, no stopping to look around. You understand? Sky nodded. Terry hesitated, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He handed it to Sky. Found this in Hollow's old locker. Thought you might want it. Sky unfolded the paper with trembling hands. It was a photograph, faded and creased, but still clear. Hollow stood beside a younger Sky, his arms slung around her shoulders, both of them grinning at the camera. She couldn't have been more than 7. Hollow looked impossibly young, his face unlined by the weight he'd carry in later years. Sky's throat closed up. Where? He kept it with him, Terry said quietly. Everywhere he went. Even the night he died, it was in his jacket pocket. Sky's hand shook. Why are you showing me this? Because you need to remember why you're doing this, Terry said. Not for us. Not for Gregory. For him. Hollow believed you were worth protecting. Don't prove him wrong. Then Terry left, closing the door softly behind him. Sky stared at the photograph until her vision blurred. Then she folded it carefully and tucked it into her pocket, right next to the crumpled napkin with Hollow's emblem. She wasn't running anymore. Midnight came cold and quiet. Lucy's truck idled in the parking lot, exhaust curling into the freezing air. Sky climbed into the back seat, the black hoodie pulled low over her face. Terry sat in the passenger seat, silent and tense. Gregory stood near the garage door, arms crossed, watching them with an expression Skye couldn't read. "Remember," Gregory called through the open window. 10 minutes, no more." Skye nodded, her throat too tight to speak. Lucy shifted into gear and the truck rolled out of the parking lot, headlights cutting through the darkness. The Iron Jaws garage disappeared behind them, swallowed by the night. The drive to Nashville took 3 hours. Nobody spoke. The radio played low, some country station that faded in and out. But Skye didn't hear the music. She was too focused on the plan, the layout, the timing, the 1,000 things that could go wrong. They reached Riverside Youth Center at 3 a.m. Lucy parked 2 blocks away, engine idling. "Ready?" Terry asked, turning to look at Skye. Skye's heart hammered. "No." "Too bad," Terry said. "You got 10 minutes starting now. Go." Skye climbed out of the truck, legs unsteady. The cold air bit into her lungs. She pulled the hoodie tighter and started walking. Riverside Youth Center loomed ahead, dark and silent. The chain-link fence was easy to scale. Skye had done it a dozen times before. She dropped into the courtyard, crouching low, and sprinted toward the side entrance. The door was unlocked. Martha's janitor contact had come through. Skye slipped inside, moving quickly through the darkened hallway. The basement stairs were at the far end. She took them 2 at a time, her breath loud in her ears. The storage closet was exactly where she remembered. Skye pulled out the flashlight, shining it across the rows of labeled bins. Her name was near the back. Skye Holloway. She grabbed the bin, prying it open. Inside were the pathetic remnants of her childhood, a few worn shirts, a notebook, a pair of shoes, and the bear. Skye's hands shook as she pulled it out. The bear was old, stuffed with synthetic fluff, its fur matted and stained. She squeezed it, feeling for the hidden compartment Hollow had sewn into its back. There. Skye pulled out a small pocket knife Terry had given her and carefully cut the stitches. The USB drive tumbled into her palm, tiny, black, unremarkable. She'd done it. Skye shoved the drive into her pocket, tossed the bear back into the bin, and turned toward the stairs. That's when she heard the footsteps. Heavy, deliberate, coming from above. Skye's blood turned to ice. She killed the flashlight and pressed herself against the wall, barely breathing. The footsteps grew louder, descending the stairs. A beam of light swept across the basement, searching. "I know you're down here," a man's voice called, cold, familiar. "You might as well come out. Skye, we need to talk." Skye's heart stopped. It wasn't a staff member. It was Michael Ventry, and he was standing between her and the only exit. Skye's breath stopped in her throat. The USB drive burned like a coal in her pocket, and Michael Ventry's shadow stretched across the basement floor like a living thing reaching for her. She pressed harder against the wall, her pulse hammering so loud she was certain he could hear it. "I'm not here to hurt you," Michael said, his voice echoing off the concrete. He was closer now, maybe 15 feet from where Skye crouched in the darkness behind a row of storage bins. "I just want to talk. About your brother. About what really happened the night he died." Skye's hands shook. She could feel the weight of the pocket knife still clutched in her palm, blade folded. "Silas." Terry's words echoed in her mind. 10 minutes, no heroics. She'd already been inside for 8. Michael's flashlight beam swept closer, painting harsh white circles across cardboard boxes and metal shelving. Skye held her breath and slid sideways, moving deeper into the shadows, her boots making the softest whisper against concrete. The basement stretched back farther than she remembered, a maze of forgotten storage and abandoned furniture. "Your brother didn't die in an accident," Michael continued, his tone almost conversational. "I think you know that. I think Hollow told you things before he died, things about Danny, things about the Vipers, things that could destroy a lot of people if they ever got out." Skye's chest tightened. Keep moving, find another exit. But there was no other exit, just the stairs, just Michael standing between her and freedom. "I know you're scared," Michael said. "I know you've been running, but running won't protect you. That drive you're carrying, it's a death sentence. The people on that recording, they're not going to let you walk away. Not now. Not ever." Skye's fingers found the edge of a doorway, some kind of utility room or maintenance closet. She slipped inside, pulling the door almost closed, leaving just a crack to see through. Michael's silhouette moved past, flashlight sweeping methodically. "The Iron Jaws can't protect you," Michael said. "Gregory Moss is a tired old man playing at being dangerous. Terry's a drunk. Lucy's a burnout. They're not warriors. They're ghosts pretending the war never ended. Sky's jaw clenched. Shut up. Shut up. Michael stopped walking. The flashlight beam froze on a storage bin near the back wall. The bin Sky had opened. The bear lying visible on top, its back sliced open. There it is, Michael said quietly. He moved toward it, kneeling, picking up the bear with almost reverent care. He examined the cut stitches, then looked around the basement with new intensity. You're still here, aren't you? You already got the drive. Sky's heart slammed against her ribs. Michael stood slowly, turning in a slow circle. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to come out. You're going to give me the drive. And I'm going to tell you the truth about what your brother did. Because, Sky, his voice hardened. Hollow wasn't a hero. He was a murderer. And the people he killed? They were my family. Sky's stomach twisted. He's lying. He's lying. Bah! Boop doubt crept in like poison. Michael pulled something from his jacket. Not a weapon, but a photograph. He held it up, facing the darkness where Sky hid. This is Danny, my little brother, 22 years old when Hollow beat him to death outside a bar in Knoxville. The cops called it mutual combat, self-defense. But I know the truth. Hollow didn't fight fair. He brought friends. They held Danny down while Hollow— You're a liar, Sky whispered before she could stop herself. Michael's head snapped toward the utility closet. His flashlight beam pinned Sky like an insect. There you are. Sky bolted. She threw the closet door open and ran. Not toward the stairs, but deeper into the basement, toward the far wall where she remembered seeing a service ladder leading up to a ground-level access hatch. Her boots pounded concrete. Michael's footsteps thundered behind her. Sky, stop! Michael shouted. Sky didn't stop. She hit the ladder and climbed, her hands slipping on the cold metal rungs. The hatch was locked from the outside, a rusted padlock holding it shut. Sky slammed her shoulder against it anyway, desperation giving her strength she didn't have. The hatch didn't budge. Michael reached the bottom of the ladder. Nowhere to go, kid. Sky turned, pressing her back against the hatch, the USB drive clutched in one hand and the pocket knife in the other. She flipped the blade open. It was small, barely 3 inches, but the edge caught the flashlight beam and gleamed. Michael raised his hands slowly. Easy. I'm not the bad guy here. Then why are you hunting me? Sky's voice cracked. Because you have something that belongs to my family, Michael said. That drive contains a recording Hollow made the night Danny died. A confession. Names, details. Proof that the Iron Jaws conspired to murder a member of the Red Vipers. His eyes were hard, unforgiving. If that recording gets out, it destroys the truce. It starts a war. And this time, nobody walks away. Sky's hands shook. Hollow did, Michael cut in. And he knew it. That's why he hid the drive. That's why he told you it was insurance. Because if anything happened to him, you could use it to protect yourself. Blackmail. Leverage, whatever you want to call it. He took a step closer. But Sky, the people on that recording, they're not going to negotiate. They're going to come for you. And when they do, the Iron Jaws won't be able to stop them. You don't know that? Sky whispered. I do, Michael said. Because I'm one of them. The words landed like a gunshot. Sky stared at him, her mind spinning. What? Michael's expression was grim. I'm not here for revenge, Sky. I'm here to stop you from making a mistake that gets everyone killed. That drive is evidence in an open investigation. The feds have been watching the Iron Jaws for years. They've been waiting for something, anything, to justify tearing the club apart. If you give them that recording, Gregory and every man in that garage goes to prison. For life. Sky's breath came in shallow gasps. You're lying. Am I? Michael tilted his head. Then why haven't the Iron Jaws told you the truth? Why hasn't Gregory explained what's really on that drive? Because he knows, Sky. He's known all along. And he's using you to get it so he can destroy the evidence before it destroys him. Sky's chest felt like it was caving in. No, that's not— Ask him, Michael said. When you get back to the garage, ask Gregory Moss what happened the night Danny Ventry died. Ask him who threw the first punch. Ask him who gave the order to finish it. His voice dropped. Ask him if Hollow died in an accident, or if someone made sure he couldn't talk. Sky's vision blurred. The knife trembled in her hand. Michael stepped closer, his tone softening. I'm not your enemy, Sky. I'm trying to save your life. Give me the drive. Walk away. Forget you were ever part of this. You're a kid. You deserve better than this. For a moment, just a moment, Guy almost believed him. Then she heard the crash. The basement door above exploded inward, wood splintering, hinges shrieking. Heavy boots pounded down the stairs. Terry's voice roared through the darkness. "Sky, where are you?" Michael cursed and spun toward the stairs. "Damn it!" Sky didn't wait. She shoved past him, scrambling down the ladder, her hands slipping, knees slamming into metal rungs. She hit the ground running and sprinted toward the stairs where Terry stood silhouetted against the hallway light, his face a mask of fury. "Move!" Terry grabbed Sky's arm and hauled her up the stairs, nearly lifting her off her feet. Behind them, Michael shouted something, but Terry didn't stop. They burst through the shattered doorway and into the hallway, then out through the side entrance into the freezing night. Lucy's truck was idling at the curb, passenger door open. Terry threw Sky inside and dove in after her. Lucy hit the gas before the door even closed, tires screaming against asphalt. Sky's breath came in ragged sobs. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The USB drive was still clutched in her palm, slick with sweat. "Did he touch you?" Terry demanded, his voice raw. Sky shook her head. "Did he hurt you?" "No," Sky gasped. "No, he said." "It doesn't matter what he said," Terry cut in. "He's a liar. Whatever he told you, it's bullshit." But the doubt was already there, spreading like infection. They didn't go back to the garage. Lucy drove for 20 minutes, taking back roads and side streets, doubling back twice to make sure they weren't followed. Finally, he pulled into an abandoned truck stop on the outskirts of Nashville, a crumbling lot with rusted gas pumps and a boarded-up diner. Terry got out first, scanning the darkness. Then he opened Sky's door. "Come on." Sky climbed out on unsteady legs. The cold air bit into her lungs, clearing her head just enough to think. Terry led her toward the diner, prying open a loose board over the back door. Inside, the air smelled like mildew and decay. Moonlight filtered through gaps in the roof, painting everything in silver and shadow. Lucy stayed outside, keeping watch. Terry pulled out a cigarette and lit it, his hands steady despite everything. He took a long drag, exhaled smoke, and finally looked at Sky. "You got it?" Sky held up the USB drive. Terry's shoulders sagged with relief. "Jesus, okay, good, that's good." "Terry," Sky said quietly. "What's on it?" Terry's expression shuddered. "Don't know. Hollow never told us." "Michael said it's a recording, a confession. He said Hollow recorded something the night Danny Ventry died. He said..." Sky's voice broke. "He said the Iron Jaws killed Danny, that it wasn't an accident, that Hollow was part of it." Terry's jaw tightened. He took another drag, longer this time. "Michael Ventry is a Fed, Sky. DEA. He's been investigating the Vipers and the Jaws for 5 years. Everything he says is designed to manipulate you into giving up that drive so he can use it as evidence." Sky stared at him. "How do you know he's DEA?" "Because Gregory ran his name through contacts last night," Terry said. "We know who he is, we know what he wants, and we know he'll say anything to get it." "Then why didn't you tell me?" Sky's voice rose. "Why didn't Gregory warn me before sending me in there alone?" "Because we didn't think Ventry would be there," Terry said. "We thought we had time. We were wrong." Sky's hands clenched. "What's really on the drive, Terry? What are you so afraid of?" Terry's eyes flickered. "The truth." "What truth?" Terry didn't answer. He finished his cigarette and crushed it under his boot. "We need to get back to the garage. Gregory needs to see this." "Not until you tell me what I'm carrying," Sky said, her voice shaking. "Michael said it could start a war. He said the feds are watching. He said Gregory's using me. Is any of that true?" Terry's silence was answer enough. Sky felt the ground shift beneath her. "Oh my God! He was telling the truth!" "Parts of it," Terry admitted, "but not the way he made it sound. It's complicated, Sky." "Then uncomplicate it," Sky shot back. Terry scrubbed a hand over his face. "The night Danny Ventry died, there was a fight. Hollow threw a punch. But he didn't kill Danny. Someone else did. Someone from the Vipers' own club who wanted Danny dead for reasons that had nothing to do with us. Hollow saw it happen. He recorded the whole thing on his phone because he knew the Vipers would blame us. He knew we'd need proof." Sky's chest tightened. So the recording clears Hollow? It clears us, Terry said. But it implicates people in the Vipers. Powerful people. People connected to things way worse than bar fights and motorcycle clubs. Drug trafficking, money laundering, murder. He met Sky's eyes. If that recording goes public, it doesn't just destroy the Vipers. It exposes a network that stretches into law enforcement, politics, judges. People who've been using both clubs as cover for years. Sky felt like she was drowning. And Michael Ventry? He's trying to bury it, Terry said, because his brother wasn't innocent. Danny was dirty. And Michael spent 9 years trying to make sure nobody finds out. Sky's mind reeled. So Hollow died protecting this? Terry's expression darkened. Hollow died because someone found out he had the recording and decided he was too dangerous to live. We never knew who, but we had suspicions. Gregory, Sky whispered. No, Terry said sharply. Not Gregory. Gregory would have died for Hollow. We all would have. But someone got to him first. Someone with access. Someone who knew where Hollow would be and when. Sky's blood ran cold. Someone in the club. Terry didn't deny it. The silence stretched, suffocating. Finally, Sky spoke. We need to know who. We need to know who killed Hollow. That's why we need the drive, Terry said. If Hollow recorded Danny's murder, maybe he recorded other things too. Conversations, names, something that points to who betrayed him. He reached for the USB drive. Let me see it. Sky pulled back. Not yet. Terry's eyes narrowed. Sky. I need to talk to Gregory first, Sky said. If someone in the club killed Hollow, I need to know I can trust him before I hand this over. You can trust him, Terry insisted. Can I? Sky's voice cracked. Because right now, I don't know who to believe. Michael says Gregory's using me. You say Michael's lying, Hollow's dead, and I'm standing here holding a piece of evidence that could get everyone killed. She backed toward the door. So no, I'm not giving this to anyone until I know the truth. Sky, wait. But Sky was already running. She didn't get far. Lucy caught her before she made it 50 feet, his arms wrapping around her waist and lifting her off the ground. Sky thrashed, kicking, but Lucy was twice her size and made of muscle and scar tissue. He carried her back to the truck and set her down hard. Enough, Lucy said, his voice flat. You run, you die. You understand? Michael Ventry's not working alone. He's got people. And if they see you on the street with that drive, you're a target. Sky's chest heaved. Let me go. No. Terry emerged from the diner, his expression grim. Get in the truck, Sky. Not until now, Terry barked. Sky flinched. She'd never heard Terry raise his voice before. She climbed into the truck, hands shaking, the USB drive still clutched tight. Lucy got behind the wheel. Terry slid into the passenger seat. They didn't speak as Lucy pulled out of the lot and onto the highway. The silence was suffocating. Sky stared out the window, watching Nashville's lights blur past. Her mind raced, chasing connections, piecing together fragments. Someone in the club killed Hollow. Someone with access. Someone Gregory trusted. The names cycled through her head. Terry, Lucy, Vic, Sam. Someone who'd been there 9 years ago. Someone who was still there now. Sky's breath caught. She turned to Terry. Where's Vic? Terry didn't answer. Terry? Sky said, her voice rising. Where is Vic? Terry's jaw clenched. At the garage. Alone? Terry's silence was confirmation. Sky's pulse hammered. We need to warn Gregory. Gregory can handle himself, Lucy muttered. Not if Vic's the one who killed Hollow, Sky shot back. Not if he knows we're coming back with the drive. Terry pulled out his phone and dialed. It rang and rang, no answer. Lucy's hands tightened on the wheel. How long till we get there? 20 minutes, Terry said. 20 minutes felt like a lifetime. Sky pressed her forehead against the cold window, her mind screaming. Please be wrong. Please let it be Michael lying, please. But deep down, she knew. The way Vic had argued in the meeting. The way he'd suggested trading Sky. The way he'd looked at Gregory with something that wasn't just anger but calculation. Vic wanted the drive, and he'd do anything to get it. They reached Iron Jaw's garage at 4:30 in the morning. The building was dark except for a single light burning in the office window. Lucy killed the engine 2 blocks away, and they approached on foot, moving through shadows. Terry tried Gregory's phone again. Still no answer. Lucy pulled a knife from his boot, a wicked serrated blade that caught the streetlight. Terry checked his own weapon, a snub-nosed revolver he kept tucked in the small of his back. Skye had nothing but the pocket knife and a USB drive that suddenly felt like a bomb. They reached the side door. It was unlocked. That was wrong. Gregory always locked it. Terry pushed the door open slowly and they stepped inside. The garage was silent, too silent. No music, no engines, no voices. Just the faint hum of fluorescent lights and the ticking of cooling metal. Lucy moved first, heading toward the back room. Terry followed, gun drawn. Skye stayed close, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might burst. The back room door was ajar. Lucy kicked it open. Gregory sat in a chair in the center of the room, hands zip-tied behind his back, blood streaming from a cut above his eyebrow. Vic stood behind him, one hand gripping Gregory's shoulder, the other holding a gun pressed against the back of Gregory's skull. "Took you long enough," Vic said. Terry raised his gun. "Let him go." "Can't do that," Vic said calmly. "Not until I get what I came for." His eyes shifted to Skye. "You got the drive, kid?" Skye's mouth went dry. "Vic," Gregory rasped, his voice rough. "Don't do this." "Shut up," Vic snapped, pressing the gun harder. Gregory winced. "Vic, listen to me," Terry said, his tone measured. "Whatever you think you're doing, it's a mistake. Put the gun down. We'll talk. See? Talk? Vic laughed bitterly. "We're past talking, Terry. Way past. I've been cleaning up this club's messes for 15 years. Keeping secrets, burying bodies. Protecting people who didn't deserve protection. And for what? So Gregory can play king? So Hollow can die a martyr?" His expression twisted. "No. It ends tonight." "You killed him," Skye whispered. "You killed Hollow." Vic's eyes locked on hers. Hollow was a liability. He had evidence that could have destroyed all of us. I did what needed to be done. Gregory's head snapped up. "You son of a bitch!" Vic slammed the gun into Gregory's temple. Gregory slumped forward, dazed. "Stop!" Skye screamed. "Give me the drive," Vic said, his voice cold. "Or Gregory dies. Then Terry. Then Lucy. Then you. I'll burn this whole garage to the ground if I have to." Skye's hands trembled. The USB drive felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "Don't do it, Skye," Gregory groaned. "Don't give him—" Vic cocked the gun. "Last chance." Skye's vision blurred. She looked at Terry, at Lucy, at Gregory bleeding and broken in the chair. She thought about Hollow, about the photograph in her pocket, about the promise he'd made 9 years ago. "I'll always be watching over you." Skye's fingers closed around the USB drive. Then she made a choice that would change everything. She raised her hand and threw the drive as hard as she could, not toward Vic, toward the open garage door behind him. The drive skittered across the concrete floor and disappeared into the darkness outside. Vic's face contorted with rage. "You little—" Terry fired. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. Vic staggered, clutching his shoulder, the gun falling from his hand. Lucy lunged forward, tackling Vic to the ground. They struggled, fists flying, blood spattering. Terry rushed to Gregory, cutting the zip ties with his knife. Gregory surged to his feet, breathing hard, eyes blazing with fury. "Get the drive!" Gregory barked at Skye. Skye didn't hesitate. She sprinted toward the garage door, scanning the darkness. The USB drive had to be out here somewhere. Headlights flooded the parking lot. 3 black SUVs screeched to a halt, surrounding the garage. Doors flew open. Men in tactical gear poured out, weapons drawn, voices shouting commands Skye couldn't process. "Federal agents, hands up!" Skye froze, the USB drive 3 feet away, lying in a pool of dim light. Behind her, Gregory and Terry emerged from the garage, hands raised. Lucy followed, dragging a bloodied Vic. And standing in the center of it all, flanked by federal agents, was Michael Ventry. He wore a DEA vest now, his expression unreadable. "It's over," Michael called. "All of you, down on the ground, now." Sky's knees hit the pavement. Her hands were pulled behind her back. Zip ties bit into her wrists. She watched, numb, as Gregory was forced to his knees beside her. Then Terry. Then Lucy. Even Vic, bleeding and cursing. Michael walked toward the USB drive and picked it up carefully, holding it like a sacred relic. He looked at Sky, and for just a moment, something that might have been regret flickered across his face. "I'm sorry, kid," Michael said quietly. "I really am." Then he turned and walked away, taking with him the last piece of hollow Sky had left. The sirens grew louder. Red and blue lights painted the garage in violent color, and Sky realized with crushing certainty that she'd just lost everything. Again. The concrete was cold and wet beneath Sky's knees. Rain had started falling again, the kind that came down in sheets so thick it felt like drowning on dry land. Federal agents swarmed the parking lot like ants, their tactical gear gleaming under the harsh floodlights they'd erected around the garage. Radios crackled. Orders were barked. Sky's wrists burned where the zip ties cut into her skin, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the crushing weight in her chest. She'd lost. They'd all lost. Gregory knelt 5 feet to her left, blood still streaming down his face from where Vic had pistol whipped him. His eyes were fixed straight ahead, jaw clenched so tight Sky could see the muscles jumping beneath his beard. Terry was on her right, breathing hard through his nose, his hands already purple from how tight they'd secured his restraints. Lucy was farther down the line, and even Vic, bleeding from the shoulder where Terry's bullet had caught him, was zip-tied and on his knees. Michael Ventry stood in the center of it all, the USB drive held carefully in his gloved hand like it was made of glass. He turned it over once, twice, then slipped it into an evidence bag one of the agents held open. Sky watched the last piece of hollow disappear into federal custody, and something inside her cracked. "Clear the garage," Michael ordered. "I want every inch documented. Computers, files, phones, everything gets seized." "Oh." Agents moved past them, boots splashing through puddles, heading inside. Sky heard the sounds of doors being kicked open, furniture overturned, metal clanging against concrete. They were tearing the iron jaws apart piece by piece. "Michael," Gregory said quietly. His voice was rough but steady. "You're making a mistake." Michael turned to face him. "Am I? Because from where I'm standing, I just shut down a criminal enterprise that's been operating for 3 decades. "We're not criminals," Gregory said. "You harbored a fugitive minor," Michael shot back. "You obstructed a federal investigation. Your man Vic just confessed to murder on tape." He gestured toward the small recording device clipped to his vest. "And that drive you were so desperate to get? It's evidence in a RICO case that's going to put half the Red Vipers behind bars for life. So no, Gregory. This isn't a mistake. This is justice." "Justice," Gregory repeated, his tone bitter. "You wouldn't know justice if it bit you in the ass." Michael's expression hardened. "My brother is dead because of your club. Don't talk to me about justice." "Your brother was dirty," Terry spat, "and you know it." Michael's hand twitched toward the weapon holstered at his hip, but he caught himself. "Careful, Terry. Assaulting a federal officer is another 5 years. "Worth it," Terry growled. One of the agents approached Michael holding a tablet. "Sir, we've got a problem." Michael's attention shifted. "What kind of problem?" The agent turned the tablet so Michael could see the screen. Sky couldn't make out the details from where she knelt, but she saw Michael's expression change, saw the flicker of confusion, then alarm. "When was this taken?" Michael asked sharply. 18 minutes ago, the agent replied. "Highway 9, eastbound, positive ID on the vehicles." Michael cursed under his breath. He turned to the lead agent, a broad-shouldered woman with salt and pepper hair and a face carved from granite. "Martinez, secure the scene. Nobody leaves. Nobody comes in. I need to make a call." "Sir, just do it," Michael snapped. He strode toward one of the SUVs, phone already pressed to his ear, his voice too low to hear. Sky glanced at Gregory. He was watching Michael with an intensity that made the air feel electric. "What's happening?" Sky whispered. "Shut up!" one of the agents barked, moving closer. But Gregory's mouth twitched, the ghost of a smile. "Cavalry's coming." Sky's heart lurched. "What?" "I said shut up," the agent repeated, his hand dropping to his sidearm. Gregory fell silent, but his eyes stayed on Michael, and Skye saw something there she hadn't seen before. Hope. Minutes crawled past. The rain intensified, turning the parking lot into a shallow lake. Skye's clothes were soaked through, her body shaking from cold and adrenaline crash. Her mind kept circling back to the same question. What cavalry? The Iron Jaws were finished. Vic had betrayed them. The feds had the drive. There was no one left to... The rumble started low and distant, like thunder rolling across the valley. But it wasn't thunder. Skye knew that sound. She'd heard it every night at the garage, felt it vibrating through the walls, through her bones. Motorcycles. A lot of them. The federal agents heard it too. Heads turned. Hands moved toward weapons. Michael's phone call cut off mid-sentence. He spun toward the highway, and Skye followed his gaze. Headlights appeared in the distance. Dozens of them, cutting through the rain like stars falling to earth. The sound grew louder, engines roaring in perfect synchronization. Not just Harleys, too many, too organized. What the hell? Martinez started. The motorcycles came into view, flooding off Highway 9 and into the parking lot in a coordinated wave. 20 bikes, 30, 40, more. They formed a wide semicircle around the federal vehicles, engines idling, riders still mounted. Every one of them wore leather vests emblazoned with club patches, but they weren't all Iron Jaws. Skye saw colors she didn't recognize, different clubs, different territories. Brothers from all over Tennessee and beyond, united by something stronger than rivalry. They'd come for Gregory. Michael moved forward, his hand on his weapon but not drawing it. You need to leave, now. This is a federal... We know what it is, a voice called from the front line of bikes. The rider dismounted slowly, pulling off his helmet to reveal a scarred face and gray hair tied back in a ponytail. He was older than Gregory, maybe 70, but he moved like a man half that age. We also know you don't have jurisdiction. Michael's jaw clenched. The hell I don't. DEA's got no warrant for this location, the old rider continued, his voice carrying over the rain and engines. And unless I'm mistaken, you just conducted an illegal raid on private property without probable cause, which means every piece of evidence you collected tonight, inadmissible. Who the hell are you? Michael demanded. Name's Randall Stone. I'm Gregory Moss's attorney. The old man smiled, sharp and predatory. And I'm about to make your life very difficult. Skye's breath caught. She looked at Gregory, who was grinning despite the blood and zip ties. Michael's face flushed. You called a lawyer before we even got here. I called a lot of people, Gregory said. See, the thing about running a motorcycle club for 30 years? You make friends. You build alliances. And when one of us gets hit, we all come running. He nodded toward the assembled riders. Every man here represents a different club, different territory, different story, but we're all brothers, and you just declared war on all of us. Martinez stepped forward. Mr. Stone, I don't care what fancy law degree you have. These men are under arrest for what? Randall cut in. Harboring a runaway? That's a misdemeanor at best, and you know it. Obstruction? You'd have to prove they knew about your investigation, which you can't, because you never served a warrant or made your presence known until tonight. And as for the alleged murder confession, he pulled out his own tablet, tapping the screen. I've got 3 witnesses who will testify that Victor Brennan was coerced under duress while suffering from a gunshot wound. His statement won't hold up in court. We have the drive, Michael said through gritted teeth. Do you? Randall's smile widened. Because according to Tennessee law, evidence obtained during an illegal search and seizure is inadmissible. And since you had no warrant, no probable cause, and no exigent circumstances to justify this raid, that drive's worthless. You can't use it, can't enter it into evidence, can't even admit it exists without violating a dozen constitutional protections. Michael's hands clenched into fists. You're bluffing. Am I? Randall gestured toward the riders. I've got 40 witnesses who will testify that federal agents unlawfully detained American citizens without cause. I've got video footage from a dozen helmet cams showing excessive force. And I've got a 14-year-old girl, he pointed at Skye, who you terrorized and restrained without a guardian present. How do you think that's going to play in court? Or better yet, on the news? Muam. The silence was deafening. Martinez looked at Michael. Sir? Michael's jaw worked, fury and frustration warring across his face. Finally, He turned to Martinez. Cut them loose. Sir? Do it, Michael snarled. The agents moved reluctantly, cutting zip ties with tactical knives. Sky's hands came free, and she gasped as blood rushed back into her fingers. Gregory stood slowly, rubbing his wrists, his eyes never leaving Michael's face. This isn't over, Michael said quietly. Yeah, Gregory replied, it is. That drive contains evidence of nothing you can use, Gregory cut in, and you know it. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to get back in your fancy SUVs. You're going to drive away, and you're going to leave us the hell alone. Because if you don't, he gestured toward the assembled riders. Every club in this state is going to make your life a living nightmare. We'll file complaints. We'll sue for harassment. We'll drag this through every court until you're drowning in paperwork. And when you finally crawl out from under it, we'll still be here, riding, living, free. Scheiß Jocelyn. Michael's expression was murderous, but he didn't argue. He turned to Martinez. Pack it up. We're leaving. The agents began withdrawing, moving with visible reluctance. Agents began. Equipment was loaded back into vehicles. Floodlights were extinguished. The garage slowly returned to darkness. But the riders stayed, engines idling, waiting. Michael climbed into the lead SUV, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. The convoy pulled out slowly, headlights cutting through the rain as they disappeared back onto Highway 9. The moment they were gone, the tension shattered. Riders dismounted, moving toward the iron jaws with backslaps and rough embraces. Randall clasped Gregory's hand, then pulled him into a hug that looked painful given Gregory's injuries. You stubborn son of a bitch, Randall muttered. I told you this was coming. Yeah, well, Gregory said hoarsely. You were right. Terry clapped Sky on the shoulder. You okay, kid? Sky nodded, even though she wasn't sure it was true. Everything felt surreal, like she'd stepped through a door into a different world where physics and logic no longer applied. Lucy limped over, his face swollen from the fight with Vic. Where's the bastard? Sky turned. Vic was gone. The spot where he'd been kneeling was empty, rain washing away the blood he'd left behind. He ran, one of the riders called. Saw him slip away when the feds were packing up, headed east on foot. Gregory's expression darkened. Terry, Lucy, find him. On it, Terry said. He and Lucy moved toward their bikes, engines roaring to life seconds later. They peeled out of the lot, headlights disappearing into the storm. Randall turned to Sky. You must be Sky Holloway. Sky nodded mutely. Gregory told me about you, Bent, Randall said. His voice was gentler now, almost grandfatherly. I'm sorry for what you've been through, but you're safe now. I promise you that. Am I? Sky's voice cracked. Child Services is still looking for me. Michael Ventry might be gone, but he's not going to stop. And Vic... She swallowed hard. Vic killed Hollow. He's still out there. Not for long, Gregory said grimly. He turned to Randall. What about the drive? Can the feds use it? Not in criminal court, Randall said. But that doesn't mean it's safe. If what you told me is true, if that recording implicates people beyond the clubs, then there are others who'll want it. People with resources the feds don't have. The Vipers, Sky whispered. Randall nodded. And whoever's been protecting them, judges, cops, politicians, people who've spent years keeping their names out of this. Gregory cursed. So we're still targets. Until the drive is destroyed or made public, Randall confirmed. Those are your only options. Sky's mind raced. What if we do both? Gregory frowned. What do you mean? We copy it, Sky said, the plan forming as she spoke. We make a copy and send it to every news outlet we can think of. Then we destroy the original. That way, even if someone comes after us, the information's already out there. They can't stop it. Randall considered this. Risky. Once it's public, there's no taking it back. Everyone on that recording, guilty or innocent, gets dragged through the mud. Good, Sky said fiercely. Let them burn. They killed Hollow. They destroyed my family. They deserve whatever's coming. Gregory studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right, but we need to move fast. Michael took the drive, but he can't use it without a warrant, which means he's going to stash it somewhere until he figures out his next move. We need to get it back before he does. Where would he take it? One of the riders asked. Evidence lockup, Randall said. DEA field office in Knoxville. High security, but not impenetrable. You want us to break into a federal building? Terry's voice crackled over the radio. He and Lucy were still out hunting Vic. No, Gregory said. I want us to do it smart. Randall, can you get us blueprints? I can try, Randall said. But even with blueprints, you're looking at armed guards, cameras, biometric locks. We've handled worse, Gregory said. He turned to the assembled riders. Any of you got contacts inside federal buildings? Cleaning crews, maintenance, security? A younger rider raised his hand. My cousin works janitorial at the courthouse. Same building complex as the field office. Perfect, Gregory said. Get him on the phone. We need access codes, shift schedules, blind spots in the camera coverage. Everything. The rider nodded and stepped away. Phone already out. Sky's chest tightened. This is insane. If we get caught, we won't, Gregory said flatly. Because we can't afford to. That drive is the only leverage we have. Without it, we're sitting ducks. And with it? Sky asked. With it, we control the narrative, Gregory said. We decide who gets burned and who walks away. That's power, Sky. Real power. And right now, we need every bit we can get. The radio crackled again. Lucy's voice came through, distorted by static and rain. Gregory, we got a problem. Gregory grabbed the handset. What kind of problem? Vic's not alone, Lucy said grimly. He's got company. 3 vehicles, red Viper colors. They're headed your way. ETA 5 minutes. Sky's blood turned to ice. Gregory's expression hardened. How many? At least a dozen, Lucy replied. Maybe more. They're armed, Gregory. This isn't a social call. Gregory looked at the assembled riders. Most of them were older men, veterans of bar fights and turf wars, but not soldiers, not killers. If the Vipers came looking for a fight, people were going to die. Everyone inside, Gregory ordered. Now, grab whatever you can use as a weapon. Tire irons, chains, bats, I don't care. Just move. The riders scattered, engines dying as they abandoned their bikes and rushed toward the garage. Sky followed, her heart hammering, her mind screaming that this was wrong. This was suicide. They couldn't win against Sky. She turned. Gregory stood in the doorway, backlit by the garage's dim interior lights. His face was shadowed, unreadable. If this goes bad, Gregory said quietly, if we don't make it. Don't, Sky cut in. Don't say that. Listen to me, Gregory said. There's a safe in the office. Combinations written on the underside of the desk drawer. Inside there's cash, fake IDs, everything you need to disappear. You take it and you run. You get as far from here as you can. You understand? Sky's throat closed up. I'm not leaving you. You might not have a choice, Gregory said. His eyes were tired, so tired. Hollow died protecting you. I'm not going to let that be for nothing. Before Sky could respond, headlights flooded the parking lot. 3 black trucks roared into view, parking in a loose formation that blocked the exit. Doors opened. Men climbed out. Leather vests, weapons openly displayed, faces hard as stone. The Red Vipers had arrived. And standing at the front of the group, bloodied and grinning like a wolf, was Vic. Evening, Gregory, Vic called. Miss me? Gregory stepped forward, hands loose at his sides. Behind him, the Iron Jaws and their allies formed a ragged line, weapons gripped tight. It wasn't enough. Sky could see that at a glance. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and out of time. Vic, Gregory said evenly, you made your choice. You're not welcome here anymore. Funny, Vic said. I was about to say the same thing to you. He gestured toward the Vipers. See, these boys and I, we got an understanding. They want the drive. I want you dead. Turns out, we can both get what we want tonight. The feds have the drive, Gregory said. You're too late. Am I? Vic's grin widened. Because word is you're planning a little trip to Knoxville. A little breaking and entering. And when you do, we'll be waiting. You, Terry, Lucy, the kid, all of you. One big happy ending. Sky's hand shook. This was a trap. They'd been herded here, surrounded, cut off from any chance of escape. And Vic had orchestrated the whole thing. "You're a traitor," Gregory said, his voice low and deadly. "I'm a survivor," Vic shot back. "Something you never understood. You and Hollow. Always so goddamn noble. Always trying to save people who weren't worth saving. Look where it got him. Look where it's gonna get you." Gregory's jaw clenched. "Last chance, Vic. Walk away." "No," Vic said. "I don't think I will." He raised his hand. The Vipers raised their weapons, and Sky realized with absolute certainty that they were about to die. Then, from somewhere in the darkness beyond the parking lot, an engine roared, louder than any Harley, deeper, more primal. Headlights snapped on, blinding white, and a massive semi-truck barreled out of the shadows, air horn blasting. It slammed into the nearest Viper truck with the force of a collapsing building. Metal screamed, glass exploded. Men dove out of the way, shouting, scrambling. The semi didn't stop. It plowed through this parking lot like a rampaging beast, scattering Vipers, crushing motorcycles, obliterating any sense of order. The driver's door opened, and Martha Clark weathered. Furious Martha leaned out, shotgun in hand. "Get in the damn truck!" she roared. Gregory didn't hesitate. "Move, everyone, now!" The iron jaws ran. Sky ran. They climbed into the semi's trailer through the back doors Martha had left open, pulling each other up, adrenaline and survival instinct overriding thought. The Vipers tried to regroup, but Martha fired the shotgun twice, the blasts echoing like thunder. Terry and Lucy roared into the lot on their bikes, engines screaming. They flanked the semi as Martha threw it into reverse, tires smoking. More shots rang out. Sky heard bullets ricocheting off steel, felt the truck lurch and sway. Then they were moving, forward this time, crashing through the chain-link fence at the edge of the property, tearing onto Highway 9 with the Vipers scrambling behind them. Sky clung to the inside of the trailer, surrounded by bloodied, exhausted bikers who looked like they'd just survived the end of the world. Maybe they had. Martha's voice crackled over a speaker mounted near the ceiling. "Y'all better hold on back there. This ain't over yet." Sky looked at Gregory, who was breathing hard, blood and rain mixing on his face. "What now?" Sky asked. Gregory's smile was grim and feral. "Now, he said, "we go to war." The semi-truck thundered down Highway 9 like a wounded animal fleeing predators it could no longer outrun. Inside the trailer, Sky pressed herself against the cold metal wall, her body jolting with every pothole in turn. The bikers around her looked like refugees from a war zone, bloodied, exhausted, eyes hollow with the kind of trauma that doesn't fade when morning comes. Gregory sat near the back doors, one hand pressed against his ribs, where bruises were already blooming purple beneath his torn shirt. Terry checked his revolver with mechanical precision. Ejecting the spent casings and reloading with bullets, he pulled from his vest pocket. Lucy had his head tilted back, trying to stop a nosebleed that painted his beard crimson. Nobody spoke. There was nothing left to say that the screaming engines and gunfire hadn't already expressed. Martha's voice crackled over the speaker again. "We got company. 2 vehicles staying on our tail. They're persistent, I'll give them that." Gregory pushed himself to his feet, wincing. He made his way to the front of the trailer, where a small window gave a view into the cab. Sky followed, her legs unsteady. Through the window, she could see Martha's profile, jaw set, hands white-knuckled on the wheel, shotgun propped against the passenger seat. Beyond the windshield, Highway 9 stretched into darkness, rain turning the asphalt into a river of reflected light. And behind them, gaining ground, 2 sets of headlights cut through the storm. "How long can we keep this up?" Sky asked quietly. Gregory didn't answer immediately. He watched the pursuing vehicles, calculating distances, angles, options that were rapidly running out. "Not long enough," he finally said. "Martha's truck is built for hauling, not racing. They'll catch us before we reach Knoxville." "So what do we do?" Gregory's eyes shifted to her, and Sky saw something there that made her chest tighten. Not fear, not desperation, but a kind of cold, terrible resolve that comes when a man realizes he's out of moves except the ones that cost everything. "We make a stand," Gregory said. Terry appeared at Gregory's shoulder, his revolver hanging loose at his side. "Where?" "Miller's Ridge," Gregory said. 3 miles up, abandoned rest stop. High ground, limited approaches. We can see them coming." "We can also get cornered," Lucy pointed out, joining them. Blood still dripped from his nose, but his voice was steady. Better cornered where we choose than caught in the open, Gregory replied. He turned to the assembled riders. Listen up. We're stopping at Miller's Ridge. When we do, you grab whatever weapons you've got and you take positions. Windows, doorways, high points. The Vipers want to fight? We'll give them one they'll regret. And the kid? One of the riders asked, nodding toward Sky. She stays with me, Gregory said flatly. Anyone comes near her, you put them down. No warnings, no mercy. Understand? Heads nodded. Weapons were checked. Sky's hands trembled as she realized what was about to happen. These men, most of them strangers who'd answered a call they didn't have to answer, were about to bleed and possibly die for her. For a 14-year-old girl they didn't know, carrying a secret that had already destroyed too many lives. Gregory, Sky whispered, this is my fault. I should… Stop, Gregory cut in, his tone sharp but not unkind. You didn't start this. Hollow didn't start this. This war's been brewing for years, and you just happens to be the match that finally lit the fuse, but that doesn't make it your fault. You understand me? Sky's throat closed up. She nodded. Good, Gregory said. He placed a heavy hand on her shoulder, gentle, despite the calluses and scars. You're family now, and family protects each other, no matter what. The truck began to slow. Through the window, Sky saw the rest stop emerging from the rain, a crumbling structure of cinder block and broken glass, long abandoned by the state and forgotten by travelers. Martha guided the semi into the parking lot, tires hissing on wet pavement, then killed the engine. The silence that followed was suffocating. Move, Gregory barked. The back doors flew open. Riders poured out into the rain, scattering toward the rest stop building with practiced efficiency. Terry and Lucy took point, kicking in the already damaged front door and sweeping the interior. Sky followed Gregory, her boots splashing through puddles that reflected the distant glow of the pursuing headlights. Inside, the rest stop smelled like mildew and decay. Graffiti covered the walls. Broken vending machines lay on their sides like fallen monuments. But the structure was solid, concrete and steel, built to withstand decades of weather and neglect. The windows were high and narrow, perfect for defense, and the back exit led to a steep embankment that would be hell to climb in the dark. Positions, Gregory ordered. Terry, take the east windows. Lucy, west. Randall, you and your boys cover the back. Everyone else, spread out, eyes on the parking lot. They come. We hold until they break, or we do. Sky pressed herself against the wall near the center of the building, trying to stay out of the way. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. Through the broken windows, she could see the headlights growing closer. 2 vehicles. Maybe 3. Vic and the Vipers, coming to finish what they'd started. Martha appeared beside Sky, the shotgun cradled in her arms like a baby. You ever fire a gun, girl? Sky shook her head. Well, tonight's not the night to learn, Martha said. She pulled a heavy flashlight from her belt and handed it to Sky. But you can help. If someone goes down, you shine this light so we can see where they are. You stay low, you stay quiet, and you do exactly what I tell you. Got it? Got it, Sky whispered. The vehicles pulled into the parking lot, 3 trucks, just as Lucy had estimated. Doors opened. Men climbed out, silhouettes against their own headlights, weapons visible even in the rain. Sky counted 12, maybe 15. Too many. Vic's voice carried across the distance, amplified by the storm's acoustics. Gregory, I know you're in there. This doesn't have to end badly. Just send out the girl in the drive, and we'll call it even. Gregory moved to the window, leaning against the frame with deliberate casualness. You're not getting either, Vic. You had your chance to walk away. Now you're going to die here, in the rain, forgotten by everyone who ever gave a damn about you. Big words from a man with no way out, Vic shouted back. You're outnumbered, outgunned, and the feds are on their way. You think they're going to let this slide? You think Randall's legal tricks are going to save you after you killed federal agents? We didn't kill anyone, Gregory shouted. But you will if you come through that door. Vic laughed, bitter and sharp. Then I guess we're doing this the hard way. The first shot shattered the silence. It came from the Viper's position, a rifle crack that punched through one of the high windows and sent concrete dust exploding from the wall. The iron jaws returned fire instantly, Terry's revolver, Lucy's pistol, the boom of Martha's shotgun. The rest stop became a thunderstorm of muzzle flashes and echoing reports. Skye dropped to the floor, hands over her ears. The flashlight clutched so tight, her knuckles went white. Around her, the bikers moved with grim efficiency, firing from cover, reloading, repositioning. Glass shattered, bullets whined off steel. Someone screamed, whether Viper or Jaws, Skye couldn't tell. "East side!" Terry shouted. "They're flanking!" Lucy spun, firing 3 rapid shots through a window. One of the Vipers went down, clutching his leg, dragging himself back toward the trucks. The others adjusted, spreading wider, trying to surround the building. Gregory moved to Skye, crouching beside her. "You okay?" Skye nodded, even though she wasn't. Her whole body shook, her ears rang. The smell of gunpowder was overwhelming. "Stay down," Gregory said. "This is going to get worse before it gets better." He was right. The Vipers regrouped and pushed harder, laying down suppressing fire that kept the iron jaws pinned. One of the riders, a man Skye didn't know, took a round in the shoulder and went down hard, gasping. Martha was beside him instantly, tearing fabric to make a tourniquet while still managing to fire her shotgun one-handed. "We can't hold this forever," Randall shouted from the back. "We're burning through ammo." "Then make every shot count." Gregory fired twice, methodically, and another Viper stumbled. But the tide was turning. The Vipers had resources the Iron Jaws didn't. More men, more bullets, more willingness to trade lives for victory. They advanced slowly, using the trucks for cover, closing the distance meter by meter. Skye saw it happening and felt the despair settle like ice in her stomach. They were going to lose. Gregory was going to die. Terry, Lucy, Martha, everyone who'd risked everything for her, would be slaughtered in this forgotten rest stop, and nobody would ever know why. Then she remembered the USB drive. Michael Ventry had it. The feds had it. But what if they didn't need the physical drive? What if the information could still get out? Skye's mind raced. She pulled out her phone, miraculously still intact despite everything, and opened the browser. Her fingers flew across the screen, searching, finding news outlets, journalists, contacts. She started typing an email, her hand shaking so badly she had to retype every other word. "My name is Skye Holloway. My brother Luther Holloway was murdered 9 years ago. The USB drive in federal custody contains evidence that the Red Vipers Motorcycle Club is involved in drug trafficking, murder, and corruption that reaches into law enforcement and local government. I'm sending this to every journalist I can find. Someone needs to know the truth before we're all dead." She attached the location, the names, everything she knew. Then she hit send, and sent it again. And again. To every email address she could find. Local news, national news, investigative reporters, crime podcasts. She didn't know if it would matter. Didn't know if anyone would believe a desperate kid sending emails from a firefight. But it was the only weapon she had left. Gregory saw what she was doing, and his eyes widened. "Skye, it's done," Skye said. "The information's out. Even if they kill us, it's too late. People know." Gregory stared at her for a heartbeat. Then a slow smile spread across his bloodied face. "You brilliant, crazy kid." He turned to the others. "Hold your fire. Everyone hold." The shooting stopped, first from the Iron Jaws, then, confused, from the Vipers. Gregory stood and moved to the window, hands raised. "Vic, we need to talk." Vic emerged from behind a truck, weapon still raised. "You surrendering, old man?" "No," Gregory called. "I'm telling you it's over. The kid just sent everything to the press. Names, dates, evidence. By morning, every reporter in Tennessee is going to know what the Vipers have been doing, what you've been protecting. Your empire's done, Vic, and killing us won't change that." Vic's face went pale even in the darkness. "You're bluffing." Am I?" Gregory's smile was cold. "Check your phone. I bet you've already got calls coming in. Your handlers, your contacts. Everyone who had something to lose. They're panicking because they know what's coming." Skye watched as Vic pulled out his phone, his expression shifting from anger to confusion to dawning horror as he scrolled through missed calls and messages. Around him, the Vipers were doing the same, phones lighting up, voices rising in alarm. "You son of a bitch," Vic breathed. "Yeah," Gregory said, "I am, but at least I'm an honest one." For a long moment, nobody moved. The rain continued to fall. Thunder rolled in the distance. Skye held her breath. waiting for the shooting to resume, waiting for Vic to decide that revenge was worth dying for. Then Vic lowered his weapon. "Stand down," he said to the Vipers. His voice was hollow, defeated. "It's over." The Vipers hesitated, looking to each other for confirmation that their world had just ended. Slowly, they lowered their guns. Some climbed back into the trucks. Others just stood in the rain, staring at nothing. Vic turned back to Gregory. "This isn't forgiveness. You understand that? I'll hate you until the day I die." "Good," Gregory said quietly. "Live with it. Just like I've lived with losing Hollow. Just like Sky's lived with losing everything. We all carry our ghosts, Vic. The difference is, we don't let them turn us into monsters." Vic's jaw clenched. Then he turned and walked back to his truck. The engine roared to life, headlights sweeping across the rest stop one final time before the vehicles pulled away, disappearing into the storm. The silence that followed was absolute. Sky's legs gave out. She sank to the floor, the flashlight clattering beside her, and finally, the tears came. Great racking sobs that shook her entire body. Martha was there instantly, pulling Sky into an embrace that smelled like gunpowder and rain and something achingly maternal. "You did good, girl," Martha murmured. "You did so damn good." Around them, the Iron Jaws began to move again, checking injuries, accounting for casualties. One man was dead, a rider from a club Sky didn't know, shot through the chest in the early minutes of the fight. 3 others were wounded but alive. Lucy sat against a wall, pressing a bandage to a graze across his bicep. Terry reloaded his revolver with hands that finally trembled. Gregory moved to the center of the room and looked at each of them in turn. "We lost a brother tonight, Marcus from the Knoxville chapter. He rode here because I asked. He died because of a war that started long before any of us understood what we were fighting for." His voice was rough with exhaustion and grief. "His family will be taken care of. His name will be remembered, and his sacrifice won't be wasted." Heads bowed. Silence stretched. Then, one by one, the bikers began to file out into the rain, mounting their motorcycles, engines rumbling to life. They didn't say goodbye, didn't offer condolences or platitudes. They just rode, back toward their territories, their clubs, their lives that had been interrupted by a call to arms they couldn't ignore. Within minutes, only the Iron Jaws remained. Gregory, Terry, Lucy, Martha, and Sky. Randall appeared in the doorway, phone pressed to his ear. "Gregory, we need to move. Michael Ventry's been trying to reach me. Says he wants to meet. Says it's urgent." Gregory's eyes narrowed. "Where?" "Black Hollow," Randall said. "Dawn. Iron Jaw's garage." They arrived at the garage as the first light of morning bled across the horizon, turning the storm clouds from black to bruised purple. Michael Ventry was already there, standing beside a black SUV, alone. He looked like he hadn't slept, hair disheveled, tie loosened, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. Gregory climbed out of Martha's truck slowly, every movement deliberate. Terry and Lucy flanked him, hands near weapons but not drawing. Sky stayed in the truck, watching through the windshield. "You got 5 minutes," Gregory said. "Make them count." Michael pulled the USB drive from his pocket and held it up. "It's over. The investigation is being shut down. My superiors got calls this morning from people way above my pay grade. Apparently, some very powerful individuals don't want this information going public. They're willing to bury the evidence, close the case, and make everyone involved disappear into witness protection or early retirement." "And you?" Gregory asked. "What do you want?" Michael's laugh was bitter. "I wanted justice for my brother. I wanted someone to pay for what happened to Danny. But the truth?" He looked down at the drive. Danny wasn't innocent. He was dealing for the Vipers. He got greedy. He got stupid. And someone in his own club decided he was a liability. He met Gregory's eyes. Hollow didn't kill him, but he recorded who did. And that recording would have destroyed lives, guilty and innocent alike. "So you're going to bury it," Gregory said flatly. "I don't have a choice," Michael said. The moment Sky sent those emails, everything changed. Every journalist, every investigator, every conspiracy theorist in the state is going to be digging into this. If the drive goes public now, it's not justice, it's chaos. He held out the drive. so I'm giving it to you. Do with it what you think is right. Destroy it. Keep it. Release it. I don't care anymore. I'm done. Gregory took the drive, holding it like it might explode. What about Sky? Child Services is still looking for her. Not anymore, Michael said. Martha filed emergency custody papers this morning. The judge signed them an hour ago based on documented abuse at the group home. Sky's under Martha's legal guardianship until she turns 18, or until formal adoption proceedings are completed. He glanced toward the truck where Sky sat watching. She's safe, finally. Gregory's throat worked. Thank you. Michael shook his head. Don't thank me. I did this for Danny. Not for you, not for the club. For my brother. Because he deserved better than to be a footnote in someone else's war. He turned back toward his SUV, then paused. Gregory, if you ever find out who really killed Hollow, who ordered it, who pulled the trigger, you let me know. That's one piece of justice I'd still like to see. I will, Gregory said quietly. Michael climbed into his SUV and drove away, leaving the iron jaws standing in the early morning light. Sky opened the truck door and stepped out. The rain had finally stopped, leaving everything clean and quiet and impossibly still. She walked to Gregory and he handed her the USB drive without a word. Sky turned it over in her palm. This tiny piece of plastic and circuitry had cost so much. Lives. Blood. Innocence. Hollow had died protecting it. Vic had betrayed everyone for it, and now it was hers to do with as she wished. She looked at Gregory. What should I do with it? Gregory was quiet for a long time. Then he said, That's not my choice to make. It never was. This belonged to Hollow. Now it belongs to you. Sky walked to the nearest trash barrel, rusted and forgotten at the edge of the parking lot. She held the drive over it, hesitating. All the answers were here. All the truth Hollow had died protecting. If she destroyed it, nobody would ever know the full story. The guilty might walk. The innocent might stay buried. But if she kept it, the war would never end. There would always be someone hunting her, someone willing to kill for secrets that should have stayed buried. Sky thought of Hollow's face, his laugh, the way he'd drawn an emblem on a napkin and promised he'd always protect her. Then she thought of the iron jaws. Gregory, Terry, Lucy, Martha. Men and women who'd bled for her, who'd chosen her when the whole world had turned away. Family wasn't about blood. It was about who stayed when staying meant sacrifice. Sky dropped the drive into the barrel. Then she pulled out Terry's lighter, the one he'd left in the truck, and set the trash on fire. The flames caught quickly, hungry and bright, consuming paper and plastic and years of secrets until there was nothing left but ash and smoke. It's done, Sky said quietly. Gregory nodded. Yeah, it is. They spent the next 3 days cleaning up the garage, repairing what the feds had damaged, restoring what they could. Sky painted during those days fuel tanks, fenders, patches of bare wall that needed color. The club watched her work with a kind of reverent silence, seeing Hollow in every brushstroke, every choice of color. On the 4th day, Martha arrived with paperwork, official documents declaring Sky Holloway a ward of Martha Clark, with visitation rights granted to Gregory Moss and the Iron Jaws Motorcycle Club. It wasn't adoption, not yet, but it was safety. It was legal protection. It was a future that extended past tonight, past tomorrow, into something that looked almost like hope. You're going to live with me, Martha said, sitting across from Sky in the garage office. Small house, 2 bedrooms, quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's yours if you want it. Sky's chest tightened. What if I want to stay here? Martha smiled, tired and knowing. I figured you might. So here's the deal. Weekdays, you stay with me. You go to school. You eat regular meals. You live like a normal kid. Weekends, you come here. You paint, you work on bikes, you spend time with your family. Sound fair? Sky's eyes burned. Yeah, that sounds fair. Dean, Martha reached across the desk and squeezed Sky's hand. You've been through hell, girl. More than any kid should. But you came out the other side. And that takes strength most people never find. Her voice softened. Hollow would be proud of you. I hope you know that. Sky nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. That night, the Iron Jaws held a memorial service for Marcus, the writer who died at Miller's Ridge. They gathered in the garage after sunset, engines silent, candles lit. Gregory spoke words Sky barely heard, her mind elsewhere, her heart too full of grief and gratitude to process language. When it was over, when the last candle had burned down and the other clubs had ridden home, Gregory called Sky into the office. He pulled something from his desk drawer, a leather vest smaller than the others, custom made. The iron jaws patch was stitched across the back, and on the front, over the heart, were Sky's initials embroidered in silver thread. "You earned this," Gregory said quietly. "Not because you're Hollow's sister, not because you carried that drive, but because you stood with us when you didn't have to, because you bled with us, because you're family." Sky took the vest with trembling hands. It was heavier than she expected. The weight of belonging, of responsibility, of something she'd never dared hope for. "Thank you," Sky whispered. Gregory's hand rested on her shoulder, gentle, paternal, steady. "Welcome home, Skybird." 3 months later, Sky sat on the roof of the Iron Jaw's garage, watching the sun set over Black Hollow. The town looked different now, less hostile, less cold. Or maybe she was the one who'd changed. Below, engines rumbled as Terry worked on a carburetor, cursing softly when it didn't cooperate. Lucy sat outside, smoking and reading a battered paperback. Martha's truck was parked near the entrance, waiting to take Sky back to the little house on the quiet street where homework and normalcy waited. But for now, Sky had this: the smell of motor oil and cigarettes, the sound of Harleys and laughter, the feeling of being exactly where she was supposed to be. She pulled out the photograph Terry had given her months ago, Hollow's arm around young Sky, both of them grinning at a camera held by someone long forgotten. The edges were worn from being carried, looked at, remembered. "I found them," Sky said to the photograph, to Hollow, to the ghost she'd been chasing for so long. "I found the family you promised, and I'm not running anymore." The wind carried her words away, but Sky knew, somehow, impossibly, that Hollow heard them. Gregory climbed onto the roof, moving slower than he used to, the fight at Miller's Ridge still haunting his ribs. He sat beside Sky without speaking, just watching the sun bleed gold and crimson across the Tennessee hills. "You ready for school tomorrow?" Gregory asked eventually. Sky groaned. "Don't remind me." Gregory's smile was small but genuine. "You'll be fine. You survived the Vipers. High school's nothing." "Easy for you to say," Sky muttered. They sat in companionable silence as the light faded and stars began to prick through the darkening sky. Somewhere in the garage below, someone turned on a radio, classic rock bleeding up through the rafters. "Gregory," Sky said quietly, "do you think we did the right thing, burning the drive?" Gregory was quiet for a long moment. "I think we did the only thing we could. Some truths are too dangerous to live. Some wars need to end, even if justice never comes." He glanced at her. "You okay with that?" Sky thought about it. Really thought about it. "Yeah," she said finally. "I am." Because the truth was, she didn't need the drive anymore. Didn't need evidence or recordings or proof. She had something better. She had people who chose her, who fought for her, who made her part of something bigger than revenge or rage. She had a home. Martha's horn honked from the parking lot. 2 short blasts that meant time to go, kid. Sky stood, dusting off her jean. "See you Saturday?" Awesome. On Saturday, Gregory confirmed. "We're starting that mural you sketched, the one with all the riders. Gonna cover the whole back wall." Sky grinned. "Better buy more paint." She climbed down from the roof and jogged to Martha's truck, the leather vest heavy and warm across her shoulders. As they pulled out of the lot, Sky looked back one last time. The Iron Jaw's garage glowed beneath neon signs that buzzed and flickered against the night. Inside, engines roared and men moved with the quiet purpose of warriors who'd finally found peace. And on the wall, visible through the open bay door, was the beginning of Sky's mural. Hollow at the center, wings spread, watching over them all, protecting them, the way he'd promised, the way Sky would now protect them in return. The truck turned onto Highway 9, headlights cutting through the darkness. Martha hummed along with the radio, and Sky, for the first time in 9 years, felt the weight in her chest finally ease. She wasn't Hollow's ghost anymore. She was Sky Holloway, artist, survivor, sister to the Iron Jaws, and she was finally, impossibly, home.